I want you to picture a specific moment. A moment I think every single one of us has experienced.
Okay.
You finally decided to learn that new skill. It could be Spanish, it could be coding, whatever. You've got the expensive notebook, the fancy app.
You're all geared up.
You are ready to change your life. You sit down at your desk, and then you just stare at the page.
And nothing happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, well, something does happen inside you, this crushing weight in your chest.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the blank page, you think about the end goal, fluency, mastery, and suddenly you feel paralyzed.
It's like standing at the bottom of a huge mountain. Everest, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking up at a peak you can't even see.
It's the mountain effect.
Yeah.
You see this massive gap between where you are day one, knowing nothing,
Yeah.
and where you want to be. And that distance, it's terrifying.
And the instinct for most of us when we see that mountain is to just sprint.
Right.
We think, okay, if I just run up this thing at full speed, I'll get there before I realize how hard it is.
Mhm.
But today, we are doing a deep dive into why that sprinting mentality is actually the fastest way to make sure you never reach the top. We're unpacking a really fascinating conversation from the Mr. English channel.
Specifically, an episode with their hosts, Emily and Paul, called You Don't Need to Rush.
And I want to be clear right from the start.
Yeah.
While the source is, technically about learning English, this applies to everything.
Oh, absolutely. Do not tune out if you're not learning a language. The psychological framework they build here, it's a masterclass in behavioral psychology.
Right.
It's about any long-term challenge.
Exactly. Our mission for this deep dive is to basically dismantle that race mentality. We want to pull out the wisdom from their chat to understand why moving is so much more important than rushing.
And how you can kind of trick your brain into learning through consistency, not high-intensity stress.
So let's get into the core problem they identify right away, this Mr. Fast mentality.
Mr. Fast. It's such a perfect name for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the hosts, Emily, she points this out immediately. We live in this world of instant gratification. We want same-day delivery on everything.
Including competence.
Yes. Learners say, I want to speak perfect English tomorrow.
Right. Or, I want to lose 20 pounds by Friday. It's the same impulse.
Exactly. But the other host, Paul, he makes this really crucial point about the consequence of that expectation.
Okay.
When you wake up on day 3 or day 8, and you're not a genius yet, you don't just feel impatient. You feel a very specific emotion. And the word he uses is overwhelmed.
That word really jumped out at me, overwhelmed. It's not just tired, it's like you're drowning.
And that feeling is so dangerous. Because when you feel overwhelmed, the task stops being a process.
And it starts being a judgment on you.
Yes. You think, I'm not smart enough, or I'm just not cut out for this. And that stress is what makes you stop. Rushing leads directly to quitting.
They bring up that visual, again, the mountain of English that we talked about. And Paul describes looking up and just saying, I'm not a good climber. I can't do this.
It's instant imposter syndrome.
But Emily's response is the first big aha moment. She tells him, you don't need to jump to the top. In fact, she says trying to jump is, well, it's impossible.
You can't defy gravity, and you can't defy neurobiology. You cannot cram a decade of learning into a week.
So her whole point is that the only way to climb a mountain is one step at a time.
One small step today.
So one small step tomorrow.
It almost sounds too simple, doesn't it? Just take a step.
It does, but they boil it down to this mantra. You don't need to rush. You just need to keep moving.
And Paul asks this really vulnerable question to clarify. He says, so if I learn just one word today, literally just one, is that okay?
I loved that he asked that.
Me too. Because in our hustle culture, learning one word sounds pathetic.
It sounds like failure.
But Emily is so emphatic. She says, it is fantastic. One word is better than 0 words.
That is such a powerful reframe.
It totally shifts the metric for success. The game changes from, I need to know everything now, to,
I just need to know a little bit more than I did yesterday.
right. It lowers the barrier so much you can't really say no. If your goal is to study for 2 hours, you'll put it off. If your goal is to learn one word.
You'll do it while you're making coffee.
Exactly.
So we've established that rushing leads to quitting and just moving keeps us in the game. But let's get practical. How do we actually fit this in?
Right, because life gets in the way.
The source gets into this with what they call the power of small habits.
And this is where they introduce the 5 minutes rule, which honestly, it goes against a lot of traditional advice about deep work and long study sessions.
Yeah.
Emily basically asks, can you listen to English for 5 minutes while you drink your coffee?
I noticed they made a point of that in their video.
Yeah.
He has his coffee, she has her tea. felt very relaxed.
And that's not an accident. They're highlighting the importance of a relaxed brain.
Oh.
Think about it. When you're sitting at a desk with a timer, you're stressed. Your brain is releasing cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right. And high cortisol levels actually inhibit the part of the brain that forms memories. So, as the source says, when you're rushing and stressed, your brain closes. You literally can't absorb information when you're panicking.
So the coffee isn't just a prop, it's a tool. It gets your brain into an open, receptive state.
Exactly. But there's another layer to this 5 minutes rule that I think is even more profound. Emily uses this brilliant analogy, friend versus stranger.
Oh, this was my favorite part. It's such a human way to look at learning. Break that down for us.
So she says to imagine a neighbor. If you see them every single day, even for just 5 minutes, you wave, say hello, that person becomes a friend.
Right. It's familiar.
They're part of your ecosystem. It feels safe. Now imagine a cousin you only see once a year. Even if you spend 6 hours with them on that one day,
Still awkward next year.
they're still a stranger. You have to break the ice all over again.
That is so true.
So she argues that a skill, like English, is a relationship. If you only visit it on Sunday for a 3-hour cram session, it stays a stranger. It feels foreign, like work.
But if you touch it for 5 minutes every day.
It becomes a friend. It stops being something you study and starts being something you just live with. And you're always more relaxed with a friend.
Speaking of being relaxed, they use this example about listening to music that I thought was a fantastic way to reframe what winning looks like.
Yes.
Because normally if I listen to a song in another language and I only get like 10% of it, I just feel dumb.
We all do. We focus on the 90% we missed.
Mm.
But Paul talks about listening to a song and maybe only catching 2 words. Hello and love.
And in the old mindset, that's a total failure.
But Emily reframes it. She says, that is a victory. You recognize those words. You enjoyed the music.
Victory. I like that. It's like you're gamifying it for yourself.
It changes your whole reward system. Instead of your brain punishing you for what you missed, you train it to reward you for what you found. And because you feel good, you listen to another song. It creates this positive loop.
I want to shift now to a massive myth that the source just blows up. It's something I think traps a lot of people, the whole speed versus clarity thing.
This is huge.
We had this idea that speaking fast means you're competent. You know, if I can talk fast, I must be smart.
It's that Mr. Fast trap all over again.
Right.
And Paul admits to this. He says he thinks if he speaks quickly, he sounds more like a native speaker.
He thinks it creates the illusion of fluency.
But Emily really shuts that down.
Yeah.
She points out that if you speak fast but you're making a lot of mistakes, you're not impressive.
You're just confusing.
You're just making noise at high velocity.
Yeah.
The goal of language, and really most skills, is communication, not speed.
They have that great mantra, communication, not perfection.
Exactly. And they give a specific internal monologue to use. Paul says he's going to tell himself, Paul, be slow. Paul, be clear.
Paul, be slow. Paul, be clear. It's like giving yourself permission to take a breath.
It is. And the practical benefit is that speaking slowly buys you processing time. When you rush, you're trying to think, translate, and speak all at once.
And that's when you stumble.
Yes. You get nervous, your brain freezes. Slowing down lets you think, choose the word, and then deliver it with confidence.
It's funny, we think speaking slow makes us look unsure, but it actually projects more control.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so we're slowing down, we're sipping our coffee, but then we open our phones.
The danger zone.
We open Instagram, and there's some 19-year-old speaking 12 languages, and suddenly we feel terrible again. The comparison trap.
The thief of joy.
Yeah.
Paul brings this up. He sees these people online, and his immediate thought is, I am bad. They are so good.
It's so demoralizing. You're comparing their highlight reel to your daily struggle.
And that's exactly the point Emily makes. She brings up this idea of the iceberg. You don't know their story. You only see the performance, the tip of the iceberg. You don't see the 10 years of study submerged under the water. Maybe they lived in London. Maybe they studied for a decade.
You're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20.
It's not a valid comparison. So the source gives a hard rule here. The only valid competition is yourself from yesterday.
The Paul from yesterday.
Yes. Paul gives a concrete example. He says, yesterday, I didn't know the word overwhelmed. Today, I do. I am winning.
That's the only metric that matters.
It's the only one. Everything else is just noise.
I want to talk about sustainability because keep moving implies a long journey. And even if we go slow, we get tired. The source makes this really critical distinction between resting and quitting.
This is so important because people confuse the two all the time. They feel guilty about resting.
Right, the no days off mindset.
But Emily defines them so clearly. Resting is stopping for a moment to get energy so you can continue. Quitting is giving up on the dream entirely. Rest is a strategic part of moving forward.
If you don't rest, you break.
Exactly. But, and this is the really cool part, they suggest active rest.
Yeah, this was a great hack, the lazy way to learn. Tell us about the movie suggestion.
So, on a rest day, Emily says don't touch the grammar book. Instead, watch a funny movie in English. But, and here's the key, put on subtitles in your native language.
Wait, native language? So you aren't even trying to read the English?
No. Because that's work, that's study. With native subtitles, you're just relaxing, enjoying the story.
But are you actually learning anything?
Yes, implicitly. Your brain is still absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, the sounds. It keeps that friendship alive without the stress. You're keeping the momentum without burning all your fuel.
That is such a great idea. But my absolute favorite hack from this whole deep dive was the phone hack. This is the definition of moving without rushing.
It's brilliant. It forces immersion. Paul talks about changing his phone's system language to English.
Which, I'll be honest, sounds a little terrifying.
Oh, it is, for about 24 hours. He admits he was trying to find his photos and couldn't find the word. He was probably panicking a little bit.
He hit a bump.
He hit a bump, but he found it. And here's the payoff. Now, every single time he picks up his phone, which is probably, 100 times a day,
At least.
he sees English, he sees settings, messages, clock, notification. He isn't studying, he's just living his life.
He's engineered his environment so the learning happens automatically.
Effortless repetition. It's passive exposure that just builds and builds over time.
Speaking of friction and those moments where he couldn't find his photos, let's talk about mistakes. Because we're all going to mess up, we're going to say the wrong thing, feel foolish.
And this is where the real battle is won or lost. Usually when we mess up, we just beat ourselves up. I'm so stupid, I'll never get this.
We're our own worst enemy.
We are. And the source is very firm on this. You have to stop being mean to yourself. Emily uses a road trip analogy.
She calls mistakes bumps in the road.
Right. Think about it. If you're driving across the country and you hit a pothole, do you get out of the car and slash your own tires?
No. You curse about the pothole, can you keep driving?
Exactly. You don't cancel the trip because the road wasn't perfect. But in learning, we hit one grammar bump and we just quit.
It seems so irrational when you put it like that.
Emily points out that being mean to yourself guarantees you will stop. If you tell yourself you're stupid, your brain will believe you and shut down to protect you from more failure.
So kindness isn't just fluffy advice, it's a strategic tool.
It's purely practical. If you say, I am learning and I am getting better, you keep the engine running.
I really liked that Paul ends up calling himself and the listeners brave English learners.
I did too.
Ew.
Because it's true. Being a beginner again as an adult is an act of bravery. You're making yourself vulnerable.
You really are.
And doing that slowly and consistently and with kindness, that's much harder than the adrenaline rush of a sprint. It takes real character.
Okay, let's bring this all together. Let's recap the main takeaways.
Let's do it. First, the mountain. It looks scary. You can't jump. You have to take one step.
Then the 5 minutes rule. Make it a daily friend, not a weekly stranger. Sip your coffee, relax your brain.
We busted the speed equals intelligence myth. Be slow. Be clear. Clarity over speed.
We talked about the comparison trap. The only person you're competing with is you from yesterday.
And then we distinguished resting from quitting.
Yeah.
And those practical hacks movies with native subtitles for active rest and changing your phone settings.
And finally, treating mistakes as bumps, not walls. Being kind to yourself is the secret weapon.
It really is. The source ends with a specific challenge, and I think we should pass it on.
Okay.
They ask, what is one small step you'll take today?
Just one.
Maybe it's listening to one song. Maybe it's changing that phone setting. Just one small thing to prove to yourself that you are moving.
I love that. And here's a final thought for you to chew on, something that really struck me. We've been talking about language learning, but this applies to everything, right?
Absolutely.
If rushing causes the brain to close up and actually stops learning, I want you to look at your own life, your career, your relationships. In what other areas are you actually slowing down your own progress by trying to go too fast?
That's a great question. Are you sprinting so hard that you're actually just digging yourself into a hole?
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into You Don't Need to Rush.
Keep moving, everyone.